Hello everybody, welcome into our latest live video. It's Tuesday the 17th of June 2025. I'm CareyHolzman, and today, oh man, is it me or... Here's the thing. What if I told you you could get a brand new laptop with a 90-day return policy assembled in America with a local, in country I should say, repair center, so you don't have to send it out of country. Sounds expensive, doesn't it? What if I told you you could buy the entire laptop for a little over $200? What? What? All right, let's talk about that. But first, a shout out and a thank you to our good friend Buster. I was surprised when I saw a bunch of packages at the door this morning. And Buster, well, he knows it's my birthday coming up, and he doesn't want to leave Mara out of things either. So he very thoughtfully sent some gifts, and everything was in its own box. So we've got a light up Star Trek The Next Generation Borg cube. We're going to need a bigger curio cabinet. We've also got a light up Starship Enterprise from the classic, the original series. Clearly for Mara is the Star Trek Book of Cats, which, you know, I didn't even know such a thing existed. But hey, you couldn't ask for better for Mara, who loves Star Trek and loves cats. Also, she also is a big fan of dragons, and clearly she has a favorite in the bio. I'll just tell you right now, this was kind of hard for me to pry from her hand so I can show it to you guys. But it's a really ornate, glittery blue dragon on a skull of something, which is really clever and really cool. And it has, Mara has a curio cabinet, which we haven't quite put back together yet. And in there she has a series of different dragons and things, and that's already got a spot where it's gonna go. And I'm gonna guess this is for me, probably for Mara and I. It's the science of Star Trek. You know, a lot of things they did in Star Trek that came to be, like the flip phone was inspired by the communicator from Star Trek, and other things that are eluding my mind right now. But I want to thank our friend Buster out there in Scotland. Thoughtful as ever. Thank you so much for your friendship and your kindness, and for being as thoughtful as you are. We really appreciate you. Yeah, let me move some of this now, because I want to make sure we get a good look at this laptop and figure out how the heck are they able to sell a laptop. And granted, it's an entry-level laptop. It's not like a gaming laptop, but still, brand new, assembled in the United States, a 90-day return, upgradable. What's the catch? Hold on a second, just bear with me for one moment. Let me just, I don't want to drop anything. Let me just set this right over here. And so here's what happened. Full disclosure, this company reaches out to us, as many companies do, and they say, we have a product we'd like you to review. And usually, 9 times out of 10, it's something we're not going to review. It's like they've never watched the channel, or so they don't know what we do. Here's an iPhone charger. Great, yeah, we show that all the time. But this company reached out. They seemed to understand who they were talking to, and said, we have an entry-level budget laptop. And, you know, my reaction is, okay, we've been there, we've done that. We've seen lots of entry-level budget laptops that I got pretty excited over at the $300 to $400 range to get a screen and a battery and the keyboard and the trackpad and a warranty and, you know, the computer. It's a crazy world. My laptop's over $3,000, so as you can imagine, when I see something at 10% of the price, that's like 10 laptops from financially from where I'm standing. So so yeah, this company reaches out and says, well, we have a laptop, and it's, you know, it's in that $300 range, and yes, it's entry level, and yes, we've been through all this before. But then we start reading a little bit more about it, and first of all, it's made by a company called Nimo, kind of like the fish Finding Nemo, except it's spelled with an I, N-I-M-O. Okay, who are they? Are they some Asian manufacturer we've never heard of? That's fine if they are, but, you know, always welcome into another vendor into the space that's reputable and offers solid value. No, well, actually, they're an American company, and I think they were founded in Cleveland, of all places, if I'm not mistaken. And they assemble the laptops here in the USA. They have a depot for any repairs here in the USA. They have a 90-day return policy. And this is really weird. You can buy a bare bones version of the laptop. If you don't like the amount of RAM or the speed of RAM or the size of the NVMe drive, you can buy it without the RAM, NVMe, or operating system. A laptop, a bare bones entry level laptop? What? So I said, what is this? And they said, look, we'll send you the laptop. You're free to talk about it however you want. No contracts, no arrangements. We'll just let us send it to you. You go live, you say what you want to say. That's a lot of confidence when a company will do that. Let me take a look at the website. So I go over to the website. And well, let's just start over at Amazon right now, because we're going to build our way up here. Check this out. And again, I'm not paid to make this. This is not a commercial. This is an honest review, and I am honest. This is my honest reaction to it. Check this out. If we come over here, we'll go over to Amazon. This is what we're looking at today, and they have a number of different models. All right, this is not as new of a company as I thought it was. They've been around a bit. There are some YouTube reviews of this manufacturer, Nimo, of different model laptops going back over a year. So this is my first time ever hearing of them, and I have not seen any reviews of this model. So we're doing something that's different from everybody else, but it's the same in the sense that others have done other products from Nimo. You'll notice they have a number of colors available here as well. They've got gray and red and rose gold and a few others. Silver, blue, there's red. So you don't normally get these kind of choices at the lower price. It's usually the cheap stuff is you can have any color you want as long as it's black, kind of a thing. So this is all very unusual. Backlit keyboard, a fingerprint reader for using, you know, passkeys, Windows Hello. $299.99. This is a N100. So, you know, not a gaming machine, but still, for everything else, like for anybody who has anything really important to do, which is not gaming, this will do it. And furthermore, if that wasn't crazy enough, and look at the 295 ratings averaging 4.5 stars is pretty darn good. So we're off to the races with this until I see, going to their website, they offer the bare bones version. Look at this, $204.99. What? What? $205, and you can put your own RAM in it yourself. You can put your own SSD in there. Right here, we've got a 0 gig SSD, 0 gig of RAM. So you're on your own to provide your own RAM and solid state drive, which will easily, I spend over $200 just for solid state drive. Are you kidding me? So if you feel like you don't like the kind of RAM or speed of RAM or the kind of storage or the size of storage, that you're just going to replace it anyway, why pay for it? So for $200, you get the whole laptop and you provide your own RAM, solid state drive, and operating system with the full 90-day return, the same warranty, 15.6-inch display, all those things. I mean, what? It has a 2-year warranty on it. The price guarantee, that seems like a no-duh, because who's going to even come close or even offer anything near that? It's Wi-Fi 6, it's got Type-C, USB. It's got, what they're saying is it's got surround sound, 1920 by 1080 screen. It's a 4-core CPU. You're probably going to get somewhere around 5 hours out of the battery from what I'm seeing. If you run it full bore, you'll probably get 4 hours out of the battery. And if you're just watching movies or something more, but less resource intensive, you can get as much as 8 hours from the battery, is what they're saying here. Your USB ports are 5 gig per second, so they're not, you know, ultra fast, because again, your CPU is going to have a hard time keeping up if they were any faster. So why waste your money? They talk about their long-term warranty and return policy. They talk about this Intel CPUs. The display, I've heard good things about. It's partially assembled in the United States, but that's still a lot more than pretty much any other product out there. And of course, it's a laptop, so it's portable. I think that goes without saying. We've got a micro SD card, a USB 2, a USB 3, a headphone combo jack, and a Kensington lock on one side with Type-C for basically that's where your power cable is going to go. You've got a LAN jack, which I don't know why it says USB. Wait a minute. Is that USB 3 and it just looks dark? That looks like a LAN. We'll open it up and we'll see, but I think this might be an error because that looks just like, well, it says USB 3. We'll assume it's USB 3. And then we got an HDMI output, which is great, especially on a budget laptop like this that you can output to a monitor or a projector or your television. And we have a full functioning Type-C USB port here, and then your LED indicator to let you know your state of battery charge. In the box, it says it comes with the laptop, the charger, and the manual. So pretty bare bones out of the box, nothing you don't need. And that way you don't have to pay extra for stuff that's just going to go in the landfill. So yeah, when I looked at this, I said, this can't be right. So I started looking and doing some other research on the internet and on YouTube. And yeah, this is a real product. You can really buy it. And so far as I can tell, everything they're saying is 100% true. How are they doing that? How is it possible that their competitors can't do this? Usually, if you want even partially assembled in the US or a US depot for repair or an extended warranty or an extended return period, you pay extra for that. You buy the brand names, you pay more, you get more. You're paying less and getting more. Have I ever said that before? Is this a new trend, or are they going to remain alone in this? Because if so, they've got no competition. If everything turns out to be as true as everybody says it is. So, but at least when I say everybody, I'm referring to what I'm reading online and what I'm seeing in other YouTube video content from last year. So we've got a model here nobody's ever looked at on YouTube. As far as I can tell, we're the first ones to review it. But the history of this company looks promising. I'm going to open it up for the very first time live on camera. This is unscripted and unrehearsed. My reactions are real, for better or for worse. And the only arrangement I have with the company is they send the product for free. They said, would you please review this? And I said, okay. We did not say when, and we don't have any other arrangement beyond that. Only to promise them we'll make a dedicated video and we'll be honest. Here we go. And, you know, I mention this because we can afford to do this because our members that pay a subscription, they pay for to support us here, they enable us to work without compensation from vendors so that we can be community supported here, which is almost unheard of on this platform. Nearly unheard of. Almost everybody is hawking and selling products. And I don't have a problem with that if you truly believe what you're selling. But if there's a financial gain for the content creator for you to buy it, are they just generally speaking, are they being 100% honest with you? Or are they really just trying to, you know, generate revenue, which doesn't mean it's a bad thing if that's what they have to do to keep their YouTube channel up. But if the result of keeping their YouTube channel up is so that they can hawk more products they don't believe in so they can line their pockets so they can make more videos, you're basically watching a series of commercials. What's interesting to me is growing up, we used to hate commercials. And now we have a whole generation that never watched live TV in their lives and don't really know what a non-skippable commercial is. So guess what they want to watch? They want to watch commercials. That's hilarious. If you're my age or older, or maybe even up to 20 years younger, you know what I'm talking about. But the kids, this latest generation, commercials to them are like a novelty, and they're having, it appears they can't seem to tell the difference between genuine content and a disingenuous commercial. And so there's a good portion of our population right now watching what we call TikTok videos that you and I used to call commercials. Okay, I guess I'm getting old. All right, thank goodness. So, well, some of you might say, well, this sounds like a commercial. Well, Look, if you go to the store and you see an unbelievable deal on something and you tell your friends about it, does that mean you're making a commercial, or you're just like wanting to share the good news with your friends? That's what I'm trying to do here, right? So you decide for yourself. If you think anything about what I'm saying is not true, prove me wrong. Show me a better product, or show me a similar product at a similar price. Find one anywhere in the United States. I challenge you. I'm assuming, by the way, this is going to be good, but I have no reason to think it won't be. Here's how it's packed. So let's get our styrofoam out of here, and right in there is the laptop. I love that there's just not a lot of extras in here that you don't need. We've got some documentation right there. And, oops. Hey, they didn't use any tape to close the bag. And, oh, we sent it to us in blue. I didn't know what color we were getting. I also don't know the state of the charge. We would assume we're going to have to charge it. So we will plug it in. And one little box here, which is probably our charger and charging cable. I would assume that's all that's in here, but let's see. Oh, it looks like a cell phone charger. So this is good because, hold on a second, it just jumped me back over to the screen capture. Let me get back over here. All right, so this is like a cell phone charger, which means it's low power, right? So low power is good if you want low fan noise, low heat, and of course, cheap cost to run it. And then this is our USB-C power cable. Don't mistake a USB-C power cable for a USB-C data cable. And that's all there is. Everything you need and nothing you don't. I'm good with that. Just put all this over here for now. And look at the length of the power cable. Hallelujah. How many times have we opened up mini PCs and the power cable's about that long? I can't even. Finally. All right, very good. So we'll plug this in here. Let me plug it in the wall. And look, I will have no problem going from the wall to the charging port. Yeah, there is a USB-C there that I thought looked like Ethernet. Sorry, USB 3, not USB-C. So there's our Type-C, there's our Type-A, there's our HDMI, and another Type-C. Nothing in the back. Our Kensington, yeah, it looks like Kensington lock, audio combo port, the 3.5 millimeter jack, USB 3, USB 2, and a micro SD card, or trans flash, as it's sometimes called, card reader. And we have a clownfish on the front that is embossed in there. That's pretty nice. All right, let's plug this in, and we should get a light. So right over here, there's a red light that would indicate almost universally charging. And of course, we don't have to wait for it to charge as long as we've got power. We should be able to fire this bad boy up. So let me see, how can I show this to you? We'll look at it together. Open this up. We've got a little screen protection right here just for shipping. You never need to use that again. We've got a fingerprint sensor right on the touchpad, top left corner there. And Intel Inside sticker, power button right here. We turn that on. We've got a blue light that comes on here that tells us it's on. Let's do our first power on together. I don't know if this close-up camera is going to be lined up for this. Let me try something and see if it'll work. We're a little bit off. While we're waiting for it to boot, let me move the camera a little bit. It's hard to know where it needs to be from show to show as we keep varying the size and style of products we're reviewing. That looks about right there. And this is our first power on, so hopefully it's not going to force us into a Microsoft account. We're not going to connect it to a network. I'm going to get my glasses, and we'll go through this together. In fact, while I'm waiting, let me jump over to the chat room and see what you guys have to say so far, because this, if you're, are you as amazed as I am? Because I'm blown away. Here we go. There's our out-of-box experience. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to screen capture this with the HDMI port until Windows loads. Oftentimes, HDMI ports on laptops don't work until Windows loads. So let's just do that real quick and see, because I don't expect it to work yet. So I'm going to plug my HDMI in. Let's go over to port 3.
Plus enter. For more accessibility features,
it is working.
press Windows plus U,
impressive.
or select the accessibility icon in the bottom corner.
Let's go full screen for me. Here we go. Now I can turn the laptop back to me so I can see. And hold on a second, I just pulled my HDMI cord out. I got caught up in my microphone. I don't know how I did that. Okay. Touchpad's working. So we're going to go yes to United States. US keyboard, yes. Secondary language keyboard, no. Wants to connect to Wi-Fi, which I don't want it to do, and we don't have the option to skip that here. So we'll do Shift F10. Okay, I guess it's got to be function Shift F10. There we go. Click inside of the box, OOBE / bypass and our O. And then it'll reboot, and we'll go through this setup one more time. I know there's a lot of discussion about Microsoft changing that process in 25H2, but obviously there is no 25H2 yet. So the bypass NRO is still a valid workaround, and there is another workaround. There's about 5 different workarounds for that, by the way. So, but everybody's freaking out about something that isn't even released yet. There's not even a release date. And you would have thought that the end is near, the way people talk online. Anyway, so they didn't modify Windows at all. They advertise there is absolutely zero bloatware on this machine. You just get Windows, nothing but Windows. And they have not modified the installer in any way, shape, or form. So, once again, how are they getting the price so cheap? I don't know. It looks fantastic. The build quality looks good. The keyboard is backlit, which, you know, we didn't even see that on the more expensive Snapdragon laptop that I bought that was $600. This is less than half of that price, and they give me a light up keyboard. All right, let's do this again. Yes on the United States and US, and skip the secondary keyboard. This time it should give me the option down here that I don't have internet. Very good. Continue with limited setup, which is me telling it twice you don't have internet. Accept the license agreement. And then I'm just going to put the name user with a blank password. That way it'll boot right to my desktop. As for these settings, I like to leave location on. That will set our date and time for us automatically and keep it updated on a regular basis. So you don't have to keep modifying it every single time you lose or gain minutes or seconds in the way that all clocks that you've ever owned in your life all do. I'll hit accept with everything else turned off but the location settings. And then we're going to get the screen says hello, getting things ready. Oh, there it goes. It's finally on the screen. I am surprised the HDMI port works this early in. There's very few laptops that that's possible. So I certainly don't expect that. There's also a web camera with a privacy screen. So it's got a little shutter that you can close to make sure that if your web camera's on, there's nothing for it to see with the lens cover on it. And that's all built into the top frame of the screen. So you don't have to worry about forgetting your web camera. Now, granted, it's not going to be a high-end web camera. In fact, the web camera I have cost as much as this laptop. At least the bare bones version of this laptop is $200. Those Logitech Brios are $200 a piece. So the very fact you're getting a camera at all is just icing on the cake. And that's going to be more than enough for Zoom meetings and talking with friends, etc. Heck, you could even do your own YouTube channel with it. You don't have to broadcast in 4K, is all I'm saying. All right, so we're just about done here with the setup. And let me move this back. Let's come back over here. And let me see if I can put camera 1 on the screen at the same time. And we'll keep an eye on that and see how long that takes. What do we got? Let's take a look here at the chat and say hello to everybody. We have, oh, there's Buster hanging out with us, of course. Good to see you, Buster. I have to go all the way to the top. Yes, that's the top. Lord Folk became a supporter. Thank you, Lord Folk. Thanks for joining our tech club. Dustin Fuller and Eugene Ildago join us and say hello. There's Parker Morse and Eddie Casanova. And Mara says hello. There's Mark Baggett and Matt saying hello. I also see Luke Greenia in the house. Scott says hello. David Graham joins us. Mark Gaines says hello. Jose Lopez, Ron Barnish joining us here in the chat. There's Peter Laycock with a 10-pound super chat. Says hello, Carey and Mara and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland, where the temperature in Edinburgh, 59 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius. David Graham with a $2 super chat says it's a toasty 90 degrees Fahrenheit here in Fox Lake, Illinois. Oof, what I wouldn't give. We're going to be 110 degrees probably every day until Saturday, I think. Oof. Don't even get me started. You live in a desert, Carey. What did you expect? Thomas MacT joins us and says hello. There's also Andy W6AD and Ben Laird. Ben joins us from Scotland as well. I see Sean Skinner saying hello, mentioning he also loves Star Trek. Peter says, Mara, I'm glad you liked the gifts. She says, you mean loved the gifts. Mark Leibowitz says hello from Chicago, Skokie, Illinois, actually, where he's installing yet another mini PC for a client using a Codlix GD50. Not sure if it's Carey tested, but this is my second one that's really nice. Yeah, Codlix is Minisforum, so you know I'm behind that. Let's see, we also have Lawrence Pierre joining us from Trinidad and Tobago. And there's also, oh, membership renewal from Thomas MacT, who's now a member for 33 months. And he says, and loved every minute of it. I guess I'm missing what he said before that. Yes, we did see the picture. Mara did get the picture you sent of you giving her cookbook to your daughter. That was very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. Charlie Purdy says hello. Welcome in, Charlie. Nicholas Barlow says hello. And Charles Vandola says hello. Doman 2000. Steve Mercure. Dave's Guns and Games says hello. He says, I love your channel and I've learned a lot about computers over the years thanks to you. Well, thank you. Thanks for sticking around and joining us in our chat room today. Iceman48 says, it's true, I had one and another on the way. I'm not sure what it's is referring to. Steve Mercure, the school district where I was working have to replace a number of laptops used by teachers. The current devices are not Windows 11 capable. This might be the answer. There you go. I mean, we haven't done a long-term test on these, but we know that they've been being reviewed here on YouTube for over a year. So it's not like we don't have a history to go back to. Let's see here. There's Luke Walker saying hello and Bajan Guy joining us. Wow, we got a full house today. Isn't that great? And who else? Gregory Howard says hello. Luke Walker says 25H2 will hit around September of this year. I wouldn't hold your breath. I'm going to guess November. Microsoft is usually later. And every year it seems to get later. Every year they always say September, and I don't recall the last time it's ever happened. I'd like to be wrong, but there's no reason to speculate and worry about things you have no control over that may never happen. So it will happen. We just have no control over when. And so anybody who claims to know, they're full of it. They have no evidence, and Microsoft will not disclose that information. So just so you know, there's a dartboard, and Microsoft is aiming to get that out sooner rather than later, but they would not release any negative information about it, right? They wouldn't say, oh, we're delaying it because of technical issues. That's the last thing any company wants to do is lose customer confidence. So everything is always good. Everything is always going to be on time, and that is the way it works. And for anybody who thinks they know any better, they have no evidence to provide that. It's speculation. It's gossip. And please, please, folks, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. Don't contribute to it. As I mentioned before, nobody's got any say over when that comes out. If it does come out in September and your guess is correct, I'm good with it. But seriously, I wouldn't worry until October, November before you see that. Just look at when 24H2 and 23H2 came out versus when Microsoft estimated. It's not even close. All right, let's get back over to the machine here because it looks like it's been ready for a while and I've been just wanting to say hello to everybody. So let's jump over to our desktop here. There we go. And I need to put this online. Now here's the deal. In order for me to put this online, I would need to go Wi-Fi, since these really thin laptops, such as what this is, they don't have an Ethernet port. That's pretty normal these days. So I can either get it online via Wi-Fi, which is really your only choice, or you know what I'm going to do, right? I have somewhere, didn't I put them in here? I have a lot of USB to HDMI and DisplayPort adapters, but what did I do with my USB to Ethernet? I thought I put them in here. Did they slide in the back? Oh, it's just right in front of my face. So they do sell these on Amazon, and they come in handy, especially if you're in my line of work, because they have USB Type-C and USB Type-A to Ethernet that doesn't require any external drivers. In other words, this will use drivers built right into Windows. They have them in 1 gig, 2.5 gig, even 5 and 10 gig adapters too. So those usually require, those high-end requires drivers. But let me just plug this into literally any random USB A port that I have on either side, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to plug an Ethernet cable in there. And that way, I don't have to get on the Wi-Fi here and enter in Mara's 128 character password. Random stuff. And we'll give that a second. And down here on the right corner, we'll see that little globe in just a minute. Once the drivers auto load, it'll get IP address from our router. It'll become a little screen. If everything works like it should, there it goes. And then you see the rest of our icons populate on the start menu once we're connected. I'm a little interested in what this Word and Excel are. These must be trials of Word. They're not going to give us a full functioning copy of Word. Let's see what it does. It's still loading, by the way. So it's not just loading Word. There's, like you just saw, this little icon down on the search menu, and it's downloading updates to Windows in the background. Let's go to Account. What does it tell us? Oh, I see. So you get like a free trial of Microsoft Office. It'll let you run it a couple times. Let's skip that. And if you wanted to pay for this and save some money, by the way, you could use our friends' really inexpensive discount license keys over at SCD Keys. Let me see if I can put something on the screen. There we go. SCD Keys, we partner with them to bring you guys low-priced, legitimate, legal license keys and give you 30% off with coupon code CAREY. These are the license keys I buy myself, and if I wanted to activate this trial of Microsoft Office, I would go here and buy the product key for less money. The folks over at Nimo are not selling this. This would be bought or purchased directly from Microsoft at full retail. So going to SCD Keys, you'd get a much bigger discount and the exact same product with no, well, kind of like the laptop. You're just going to pay less and still get the same exact thing everybody else gets. Be a smarter shopper is all I'm saying. We've got links in our video description below for all of the Windows and Office products offered by SCD Key, and a reminder of using our coupon code. I mean, if you want to spend 30% more, the way everybody else that shops at SCD Keys does, don't use the coupon code if you want to spend 30% more. All right, with that, I was just curious what this was. So there's a free 5-day pass. I see. That's fine. And yeah, very good. So no bloatware on this at all. Everything is just a plain Windows install. If we right click and go to System, we can see our system specifications, such as our Intel N100 processor, 16 gigs of RAM. Now do bear in mind the N series of processors are limited in how much RAM you can put in there. So even if you can get a larger RAM module to fit, I think anything beyond 32 gigs of RAM cannot be seen or used. It's also not going to be dual channel. So I expect there to just be one RAM slot in here for that reason. But you can upgrade the RAM and we can upgrade the solid state drive. We're a year behind on Windows 11 Home. It shows here we're running 23H2 instead of 24H2, and the discussion of 25H2 at some point in likely the late fall will be out. So yeah, this is going to be painful in a few months if you have to do 2 big upgrades like that. 23H2 support will end, I think, next year, so you definitely want to have 24H2. We have support information, Nimo Direct with a US phone number and their hours of operation, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. It should show that this Windows is activated. Let's take a quick look. Yes, we are active. It is the home version, not the pro version, because, you know, this is an entry level. And besides, what the heck are you going to do with a pro version that you can't do with home anyway? Probably something your IT department needs to help you with. If you don't have an IT department, then you're either an enthusiast with no practical reasoning behind it other than your own emotional needs, or you work from home and you have an IT department. Or you are your own IT department. Okay, so save your money. You don't need pro if you're like 95% of home users. And the other 5% mostly don't need it. They just want it because it's an emotional want. Let's see if we can test our web camera. Let's just open up a browser. I'm just a terrible salesman for that, aren't I? Because pro costs more. I should be telling you guys you should spend more money. What a terrible, terrible salesman I am. Test my test my webcam. I don't know. I'm sure a site will come up. Webcamtest.com. That sounds good. Please wait. Checking, detecting, waiting for your permission. Okay. At some point, something should come up and ask. Click here to allow access to webcam identifiers. Waiting for permission. Webcam test wants to use your camera. Allow. The light just came on next to the web camera. It went off. I guess I hit test my cam now. Waiting for your permission. The light went on again. There it is. Listen to me, young man. That is a heck of an angle. I guess if you were sitting at a desk, I guess that would be, you know, look, it's a webcam, okay? I'm not sure what the resolution is, but this shows 640 by 480 here. And we have a shutter. If I close the shutter, the light goes out on the webcam. I can open the shutter. So you have full control if you're worried about somebody spying on you. Now, as I mentioned, it's going to be doing updates in the background. If we want to check that right now, we can go over here to Settings and then over to Windows Updates. Because we're not seeing the performance of this system while it's doing all these updates in the background. And one of those updates is going to take a while, and that's the 24H2 update. And what I'll do is I'm going to turn this option on. I'm going to go to Advanced Options here and turn on to receive updates for other products, also to keep me up to date, and also to notify me when a restart is needed. We'll go back to the home screen and back over to Windows Update. I guess I went around that the hard way. And we'll check for some updates. Like I said, they're still updating in the background, even though it's not showing you that on the screen. And then down here in the system tray, it's your Windows security settings, Bluetooth, network setting, Microsoft Drive. Again, there's no bloatware on this at all. It's just a standard Windows 11 install. That would be the same as if you did it yourself. I'm liking everything I'm seeing so far. I've got nothing to complain about. Mark Baggett said that's not bad for a webcam. Like I said, you could spend $200 on a webcam. They have webcams that cost a lot more than the whole laptop. The fact that they're including one, you know, if you don't like it, don't use it. The fact that it's there is icing on the cake from my perspective. Not that anybody's complaining about it, but how can you be picky about something they just added in at no additional cost? It's when you're spending a lot of money and you want to just be that particular, that makes sense. But when you're getting so much for so little, how can anything be not good enough? That's what I don't understand. Now, if it's dangerous, if it's false advertising in some way, if it's catching buildings on fire, that's a different story. So anyway, I don't know what the resolution of the webcam is, just what the resolution of that webcam test was. And I'm sure we can probably pull that information up if you're interested. I would guess it's probably 720, if I had to guess. Showman 2000 said it's a no-nonsense laptop with plenty of USB. Agreed. I mean, I've certainly paid more for less. Haven't we all? And the idea that they sell a laptop bare bones is almost unheard of. That's pretty incredible that they're bold enough to say you can open this laptop up, put your own RAM and solid-state drive, and load your own operating system. But where would you get your drivers? You know, while we're waiting, let's take a quick look at... let's just do this. Let me go over to this other screen here, and while we're waiting, we'll just do the search here, and we'll look for Nimo laptop drivers and see what comes up. NimoPC.com. Easy enough to find. 2 years, no worry warranty. Accessories, needs repair, customer reviews, and support. And you can order off their site as well. So this is what we're using, right? The N1, or that's the laptop manual operating system version 24H2. I guess you can just download the whole OS here. And there's our driver downloads right here. There's our chipset, our serial I/O, our GPU, which is built into the CPU, our human interface device or a keyboard, mouse, trackpad, fingerprint reader. That's all going to be in there. Management engine, dynamic tuning, integrated sensor, sound, camera, the web camera, the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi driver, the audio control, because there's an audio control on the HDMI and the GPU, and then there's audio on the motherboard, just like any other. There's a Realtek USB card reader. That's the Transflash card reader. The Genesis Logic USB 2 card reader. I don't know why they're both there. It's weird. There's a accelerometer driver. Oh, that's very interesting in that I'm not sure what that's used for when you don't have a mechanical hard drive. And that's to prevent any damage from when it's turned on and dropped or jarred. That's to protect a mechanical drive. So what does that do? But look here, we've got the whole folder of Microsoft 365. Looks like maybe OneDrive. There's all the drivers right there, and there's an install.bat. So you couldn't make that any easier. I am pleased as punch. That is fantastic, and this is really setting an example for others that are in this, that design budget machines, or even any machine for that matter. That's how you do your support. It's easy to find, it's clear, and everything you need is there with a simple install bat, so you don't have to be a tech. If you were to buy the bare bones version and install your own Windows, you could easily replace all the drivers. You'd obviously want to download them ahead of time, or perhaps use another computer and download those drivers onto a flash drive. That way you'll always have them. Because this works fine out of the box, I can back up the drivers that are already in there. I don't need to download drivers I already have. I can simply extract them, and we've got a video that shows you how to do that. No third-party software is needed. I love that. The machine's quiet. I'm not hearing it at all. I mean, I got nothing. That's the benefit of these lower-end laptops, is because they're not as powerful. They don't take as much electricity, they don't generate as much heat, and they don't need as aggressive of cooling. That also keeps them lightweight, since you don't have a giant heavy heat sink. It keeps them quiet, since you don't have a loud spinning fan. And it keeps them energy efficient, so you don't get hit with a big electric bill on that giant gaming laptop that weighs 20 pounds, that has a 90-minute battery life, and as loud as a jet engine, that you paid $4 grand for. You do you, but for the rest of us, if you need to get anything done in life that matters, this will do that. If what you're doing is gaming, well, open your wallet and set aside some time. For the rest of us, we got work to do. And whether you're working from home, whether you're a student studying from home, remote work, remote learning, this has got you covered. And for what it costs for one basic laptop, you could buy one of these for every member of the family. I mean, for the same price. You could have 4 of these, and you'd still be under half of what my laptop cost. Will this do video editing? Yes. It's not going to do it well, like fast, but it'll do it. Every computer can do video editing. But if you are very demanding and you're like, I want it to happen faster and I want to do more complex things, that's great. Just like a car or a house that you want to be bigger, you pay extra for it. You get that. But unfortunately, we all can't afford that. So this is what the primary public is needing. If you calculate out how many types of laptops are sold, doesn't matter who makes it, what is the average price? It is not $2,000. So if you're in business and you want to sell product, you need to sell it to who's buying. So yes, there are people that spend $2,000+ on a machine, but they make up a very small percentage of the buyers of computers overall. And that's why these exist. And for a lot of us, especially those of us that help family and friends with their older computers that constantly need more help, the older the computer gets, the more problematic it gets. This is cheaper than a repair on most laptops and computers. Or if you go to Geek Squad and ask them, for example, how much they would charge for any repair of any laptop or desktop, you would be close to the price of this brand new laptop, at least bare bones. I want you to think about that. So when people talk about the right to repair, does it make any sense to repair? Even if you could, why would you? I could sell you a car that's 4 years old for $60,000, or I can sell you a brand new car for $55,000. Which one would you rather have? The technology is getting better. It's not getting worse. So holding on to that old technology is not only continuing to cost you more money, you're out of any warranty. If it's a portable device, you likely don't have a very good battery. The battery alone is typically around $100. And that's assuming you could change it yourself, only to have the machine fail on the next thing. Could be a fan, could be a backlight on a screen. The older they get, before you know it, you'll be $500 into repairs on your $300 laptop over the course of 2 years. Well, this would still be under warranty at $300 if you didn't buy it bare bones. How does it make any sense to repair? Never mind right to repair. Let's not even bring that up. Where does it make sense? And when we're talking about things that are very expensive that you've made an investment in, so let's say we've got a $2,000 laptop and there's a $250 repair, that makes sense. But it would also make sense to buy an extended warranty if you're worried about that expensive investment lasting you beyond the standard warranty period. That's typically 1 year. They have not only charged us, they've doubled that warranty period. Your 30-day return period you have everywhere else, they've tripled that to a 90-day return period. This doesn't make any sense. Like, how are they doing that? And maybe more importantly, if they can do that, how come nobody else is? I mean, you want to talk about peace of mind and saving money, it's usually one or the other. So I'm blown away by this. Now, because we're not dealing with a real high-end processor, we're not dealing with a lot of RAM and a super fast storage device, these updates are going to take a while. In fact, even on a brand new machine that's top of the line that costs 10 times more, these updates are still going to take a while. So I'm a little disappointed we got 23H2. But if that's my biggest complaint at this point, that's pretty minor. Because you just nip that in the bud, you know, spend a few hours doing the updates and you'll be good to go, and you won't have to worry about that for a while. Let me see if you guys have any questions for me while we're waiting on this. Let me take a peek here in the chat room and see what you have to say. Hey, there's Andy Kane joining us and saying hello. Michael Lavelle mentions our friend Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-Tos talking about an exploit in ASUS Armory Crate. If you do a Google search on that, ASUS Armory Crate has been filled with exploits pretty much since the day they've come out. That's just par for the course. Anytime you have any motherboard software, by the way, whether it's MSI, ASRock, ASUS, or Gigabyte, you should always make sure that software is up to date. We've talked about this before. Kudos to our friend Mike for bringing attention to that. But it should always be on your mind at all times to keep all software up to date, especially things that do updates, ironically. Oh, and our screen went to sleep. Hold on. Let me change my power settings here since we're plugged in. But yeah, definitely check out Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-To. If you like my channel, I'm sure you're going to really like his channel as well. He does a great job over there in the UK. Let's see. Edit power. Edit power plan is what I want. And what I want to do is, while we're plugged in, I want it to keep the display on. When we're on battery, however, then it can shut off the display much more aggressively. And I never want to put the computer to sleep, at least when it's plugged in. Those are my particular preferences. All right, let me get back over to the chat room here. Martin Hogg says hello. Welcome into Martin, joining us from Scotland as well. A lot of Scottish viewers today, right on. Hold the haggis. You can have mine. Paul Howe says hello. He says, I'm hoping to renew my membership very soon. Well, we're looking forward to having you back as a member, Paul. We appreciate your friendship, regardless of membership status. Thank you for joining us today. Mark Leibowitz does say that getting an older version of Windows like 23H2 instead of the latest 24H2 already pre-installed on a computer. And he's not wrong about this. In general, if you're buying from a big name brand like Dell, HP, Lenovo, etc., they're going to be more on top of that, but you're also going to pay for that. If you're buying something that's heavily discounted, regardless of the fact of their warranty period, the return period, everything good about it, they might be a little behind in software. We've seen that with many PCs. It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. Just, we want to bring your attention to it, because for you to have the best experience possible, you need to have the latest drivers, you need to have the latest updates, and especially the latest updates to Windows. So when you first get a computer, it's the first thing you check. And it's not that HP, Dell, Lenovo, they're not immune to it. But they've got bigger budgets with more employees and a larger corporation. And as a result, they've got higher expenses. So they can't sell units at such a low profit margin. In fact, I don't even know what the profit margin is in this, but it's hard for me to imagine they're making much money. I mean, if this was bare bones and they're selling it at 200, how much do you think it costs them to make it? Not to mention the shipping box and all the styrofoam, the documentation, the website, all the marketing cost, the manufacturing. How's that even possible? How are they not losing $100 on every one of these? Have we just been overcharged that long that we really don't know what it costs? We're not even close. Do these really cost $50 to make and there's still $150 profit? Because even at $150 profit, you've got to sell a lot of them just to make your house payment at the end of the month, right? If you're just an average Joe. So even that, there's no way they're building these for $50. There's no way. Imagine how many you have to sell. I don't understand how this math works.
Yeah, I just coming down and say I completely 100% agree. This is awesome.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy awesome. Don't pass this up. This is great.
Well, I don't know that there's anything to pass up other than, you know, people don't buy it and the company goes out of business or something.
Well,
it's not like it's on sale. I mean, that's just that's their deal. So
their focus, their mission, they're actually living up to their mission.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem to be a bunch of hyperbole. It seems real.
Yeah, I do have some details about the company in the video notes. So feel free to read those if you like.
Cool.
And all the links are in there too. Well,
thank you for the update.
Of course.
I see a couple of optional updates here for our network driver, Bluetooth driver, and not the USB network driver. This is all for the built-in stuff. We'll download and install on that. Once we're done with this, I'm not going to put 24H2 on it today because we'll be here all day just watching updates. But when these updates have completed, then we can shut it down and take the back off of it, see how easy it is to get into and how upgradable it is, because they say it's easily upgradable. I mean, I've heard that before, but they haven't misled us so far. Everything they're saying is real, and it's not all marketing hype. It seems there's very little for me to criticize here. I'm so used to marketing companies exaggerating things. So I'm looking for that. Like, where is it? I can't find it yet. I'm laughing because, really? Why isn't this the norm? Honestly, if all companies did this, I wouldn't need to make any more videos on reviews, because you'd know exactly what to expect because the marketing companies would be honest. So it's hard to know where they're exaggerating or where they are stretching the performance results and tuning it in such a way that it gives them the best results for battery life or performance. All the other games they play. I don't see any games being played here. So if they're playing a game, I have not figured it out yet. As you can imagine, I'm not even sure how to respond. I am so used to looking for the strings attached, and I'm not finding any yet. We'll see what it's hiding under the cover here in just a minute. Kind of anxious, and I don't want to wait. See, what is this doing? It's processing an update, so it's being very slow. as we're downloading and installing, and I'm wanting it to do things, remember it's only an N100 processor, which is the equivalent of a modern day Celeron, which, by the way, is still faster than older generation i5s from just a few years back. So before you turn your nose up at it, understand that we have evolved quite a bit now, where the budget line of processors is as good as or better than the midline of processors just a few years ago. What is this, 4 cores, I think, which is pretty incredible. If you think back to what you could have bought for $200 or $300 4 years ago, like an Intel Atom processor, those were painfully slow. eMMC storage, oh, so slow. I mean, I don't know what speed of drive we have, if it's NVMe or SATA, but we can check that too. And I just want to wait for these last few updates to download and install, then we'll reboot, and then we'll shut it down and take the back off of it and take a look at what's hiding inside, or how difficult it is. Because according to this should be easy to open and everything should be upgradable, meaning obviously you can't upgrade a mobile CPU that's soldered on, but sometimes RAM is soldered on. They're saying here it is not. Sometimes the NVMe drive, especially if you're familiar with Apple products, can be soldered on. They're saying it is not. Sometimes the Wi-Fi card is soldered on. Sometimes the battery is irreplaceable. Those are my 4 concerns. And really the Wi-Fi card's not that big of a deal, because I can always plug USB Wi-Fi in if I needed to upgrade. It's still Wi-Fi 6, or is it 6E? So at that point, your CPU may have trouble keeping up with anything faster than that anyway, if that were even available to you, which for most people it is not. Maybe 6, but not 6E or 7. Most people do not have that and would not benefit from having it. All right, while we're waiting, let's talk. Let's go back over to the chat room here and see what's on your mind. Andy says he has too many mini PCs. Yeah, welcome to my world. Mark Gaines, referring to yesterday, he says he removed his Trike's cooler and he found a plugin from Corsair iQ 4GB motherboards. Well, it sounds like you're cleaning up your cable management. That sounds like music to me. Just trying to catch up here with comments. If you have something that you want my attention to, this is the time to post it while we're waiting here. And I'm just scrolling back to see if I might have missed anything. Patrick wants to know if he renews Microsoft Office, a non-365 Microsoft Office, will he lose the 1 terabyte OneDrive storage for each user? I think you do, but I'm not sure. I don't know, because I don't sell Microsoft Office. That's not my job. And I can answer questions about, hey, it's crashing, but how to use it or what marketing efforts that Microsoft enforces, I wouldn't know, because I don't work for them. But if anybody in the chat knows an answer to that, please let Patrick know, because I don't know. Rick Lakes joins us and says hello. E Phoenix joins us and says hello, and Poorly Boy there in the chat. Lucas Jensen says hello. Gregory Howard said the Segatep Slath Mini ITX build we did that he purchased, or is it a coffee maker? He says it's running great. I love to hear that, especially since I made it. You know, it's one thing when I'm asking people to, you know, over time report back on unfamiliar brands or brands we don't have a lot of experience with. It saves me a lot of effort, and I think a video driver's going in right now. That's why the screen blanked out. It's not going to sleep, but rather loading a driver. There it goes again. So when you see that happening, by the way, while we're doing updates, well, it is still possible it went to sleep. We already turned that setting off. So yeah, and you can see the resolution kind of changing. And that's another indication that that was an updated video driver coming from Microsoft. Nothing to worry about. And we're at 28% of the big cumulative update. Those cumulative ones are very large, very big downloads, and they can take a minute, quite a few minutes to install. So once again, once this is done, we restart, we'll get back into Windows. That way it enables those updates to finish. Then we'll unplug everything and we're going to open it up, or at least try to, because according to Nimo, it's easy and everything's accessible. Color me skeptical. I want to see that with my own eyes at this price point. So hopefully I'm optimistic, but I'm skeptical. FM Lazar says whether you get OneDrive with Microsoft Office depends on the offer at the time of purchase. So there is no set rule, I guess. All right, let's see. Yep, still going, still looking for comments here as we wait for these updates to finish. I don't know how this company Nimo has been under my radar for at least a year. And if they had not reached out to us, I would not even know they exist. Our good friend Doug Betts over at Live Windows Training with Doug Betts has been purchasing some budget entry-level laptops for his clients, some of which don't even have a manufacturer name on them. Seems like this is cheaper than what he was looking at and has a reputable company behind it with a longer warranty. And not that he's returning them. I mean, within 30 days, he knows if he's going to return. He's had one that was quite a bit misleading and was very difficult to figure out who made it. So I think our friend Doug Betts would really appreciate knowing about this brand, because they offer more than just this one laptop, by the way. But this one stands out for me. And you can see we're ready to restart here. Let's just go ahead and do it now. And that fingerprint sensor means we can use passkeys. So you still set a traditional password, but for your general logging in, you can associate your fingerprint to put that password in for you. If the fingerprint sensor doesn't work for some reason or becomes disassociated with your password, you still need to enter the password in those situations, but that should happen very infrequently compared to just touching the fingerprint sensor and logging you in. And I'm talking your credit card, your bank, anywhere where that security is of the utmost priority and your passwords are probably long, convoluted passwords. I use RoboForm to enter my passwords for me. However, that doesn't mean it's mutually exclusive away from passkeys. You probably already use passkeys on your smartphone. If you touch your finger to the smartphone to unlock it or to unlock any banking apps, that's what a passkey is. So they're bringing that over to desktops and laptops with fingerprint sensors. And if your computer is too old or did not include a fingerprint sensor, you can buy a USB fingerprint sensor off Amazon, among many other places, and just add that feature. It's in Windows, it's called Windows Hello. You can also use your face to unlock your screen. I don't recommend that, and it will not work in the dark. So you will need a well-lit room where Fingerprint works no matter how the lighting in the room is. It's much more secure in my opinion. It's much more reliable, and it's much more convenient than trying to get your face to align with a web camera to unlock your computer. It's way too slow. I might as well enter the password. For as long as I see people sit there trying to unlock things with their face, I could have entered the password. So for me, I get riddance to the camera face scanning thing. Yeah. All right, we're loading. You can see here, restarting. We got the clownfish up there. The toilet bowl flushing. At least that's what I think it looks like. We have 3 LEDs across the top, which I'm going to guess one is caps lock. Yeah, one is power. And one is what? Num lock? Yeah, so caps lock, num lock, and power standard, just like your standard ordinary desktop keyboard would have the same 3 LEDs. They also, by the way, did you notice we have a numeric keypad? Sometimes with these smaller, less expensive laptops, you don't get the numeric keypad. That may or may not be important to you, but I wanted to point it out. You're not loaded up with stickers here either. I mean, I'm just saying, you got 1 sticker. All right, should be loading. Yeah, looks like we're loaded. And I'm going to just shut it down because I'm anxious to open this up and see what's inside. Good thing I'm not a doctor, huh? Shut it down. It still may be finishing those updates. We'll know if it pops up here on the screen and says updates are installing. That means it's finishing the previous updates because I'm too impatient. And I don't know what kind of screwdriver we're going to need here, but I have some tools right here by my feet that I think we're going to need. So let's go full screen over here on camera 1. There we go. And I'm just going to unplug everything. Still says it's on. I still have a blue light here, even though my screen has gone off. And I have a red light. Okay, the blue light just now went off. And the red light over here is still on, showing the battery is still charging, which I don't expect ever to receive something with a full battery charge. And it's not a smart way to send anything because batteries, lithium-ion batteries, when they catch fire, it's nasty. So don't expect a full charge unless, of course, you're buying batteries. That would suck, wouldn't it? Just bought some brand new batteries and they have no charge on them. But rechargeable batteries, they're probably charged up at the factory, and then, you know, I would imagine maybe only 50% of a charge for safety reasons. If we go over to camera 2, maybe we can get a close-up of what I'm looking at here. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Little tiny Phillips screwdrivers. I think my Phillips number 1 will be way too big for these. Oh, are you kidding? It isn't. Wow, that is a pretty long screw there. Let's put that right there. I kind of put them in order of how I take them out. I was expecting to need a jeweler's screwdriver to do this, so I love that it's not a Torx bit that nobody, you know, your average home user does not have. Not that an average home user would have a JIS driver like we have here, but I am tickled. This is great. It's pretty warm down here, by the way, since it's been on, but not hot. It's definitely warm. Okay, these screws are shorter, so that's why it's important. I want to make sure I put them back in the right order. So it looks like the 2 center screws and the 2 corner screws are going to be the long ones. I'm mainly saying that to myself, so if I get confused later, I can go back and listen to what I said. This should be a long one then, on the hinge. And that would make sense for extra support on the hinge. Oh, interesting. There's 3 different sizes. The center screws I pulled out are much longer. The hinge screws are a bit shorter than those center screws. I don't know how well the camera will pick that up. And then the screws that go along the edges, those are very shallow. So there is 3 different types of screws on this, which I'm not too happy about, but okay, it's fine. Just got to pay attention. The rest of these, I think, will all be the shallow screws because they look like they're just going into... That even looks like a different size too. Let me see. No, those are the same. Okay, so that was on the side, and we're going to work our way around here. Now, honestly, this probably isn't the best driver for me to be using. A smaller jeweler's driver is probably a bit more precise, but this is doing it. I'm kind of feeling it's a bit novel that I can use a screwdriver this big to take out screws that small. You know, color me impressed and surprised because I really didn't think that was going to work. These do go in on an angle. I cannot put the screwdriver straight down. The screwdriver has to match the angle of the head of the screw. There's our bottom ones, and then there'll be one more in the middle right here. So when you're putting it back together, make sure you get the angle right, or you could strip out the threads if you try and force it in straight. There's an angle on the plastic. You've got to match that angle with the screws. All right, now how do we separate the bottom? You know, with a lot of laptops, this is my frustration, is trying to pull the bottom because it'll have clips on it. And how do we do that without marring it? Something's still holding it in right here. A lot of times we start with most laptops with one of the corners. These are speaker vents right here, so don't stick anything in there and damage your speakers. I'm looking to see if there's any sort of indication as to where we would pry this. And remember, I'm not looking at any documentation because they might have some specific documentation that would assist us in their recommended disassembly. However, as a working computer repair tech, we're paid to get work done. We're not paid to read books. So, you know, my attitude represents that of a company under the clock with customers waiting versus a home user that's, you know, not under those type of pressures. And of course, I'm working on other people's equipment, which means I don't want to cause any damage that could come back and have the customer complaining. And they do like to complain if you give them a reason to. By the way, as would I. I can very easily grab back here and start lifting, but I don't want to break anything. The problem is, this is the only place I can find a lip. Unless we have to remove it from the other side, which I wouldn't think. No, I don't see a seam. I don't see a seam along the top. Let's go back over to camera 1. There it is. Let's see again. Try this one more time. Oh. Maybe my angle was just a little off. There we go. Okay. Okay. Maybe now I'll set it back down. Something's catching right here. There we go. There's our bottom plate there, bottom cover. One RAM module, easily removable and replaceable. And this is DDR4, so the less expensive RAM. Wouldn't do you any good to have faster RAM on a slower CPU anyway. There's our Kingston 1 terabyte NVMe drive right here. I'm looking to see if there's any sort of heatsink or anything on this, because that would go, that drive would go somewhere over here. So no, there's no sort of heat transfer there, but again, this isn't high performance, so the heat shouldn't even be getting that hot to begin with. I see a BIOS battery right here. I see our Wi-Fi card, which is very easily accessible and replaceable if you want to upgrade or replace it right there. Here's our battery, and it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe? Yeah, 5 screws and a connection to take the lithium-ion battery out. Its rated capacity is 5,000 milliamp hours. So they weren't exaggerating. Everything's upgradable. Super easy. And I can understand better now how they can sell this as a bare bones, because it's no more difficult to open than a mini PC, and the installation of the parts is no different. So there you go. Let's do a close-up. Let's go back over to camera 1. Let me walk over here and do this. Trying to get it angled right. Maybe I just got to stand in the right place. Everything's accessible. Come on now. Those are your speakers right here and over here. Those are speakers. This is your battery. You know, the thing that says battery on it. This is how thin it is. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Here's the other side. When I open it up, it does not automatically turn on like some laptops, which I appreciate. You will have to hit the power button after you lift the screen. Got a pretty decent screen on there too. I got no complaints about that. Those are the LEDs up there I was talking about above the keyboard for your power light, your num lock, and your key, caps lock keys. There's your fingerprint sensor right there in the corner of the touchpad. The touchpad, you can feel it clicking, has nice movement to it, so you don't have to guess. Did I push it down far enough? You do get a positive click feedback when you are using the touchpad, and I personally prefer that. Okay. Al Perez said he'd been a member for 10 months, renewed on the 15th. Right on. Thank you, Al. And welcome in. I see you just joined us. Yeah, you think about companies like Apple and others who want to keep you out of the machine. They're like, yeah, have at it. What does that say about the company, the people who run the company and their philosophy? NCG said this laptop will be a better alternative to Chromebooks. You know what? You got a point there. I mean, Chromebooks in a way are better if you're dealing with somebody who can download pirated stuff and viruses, right? You'll still be able to do that with a machine like this. In which case, for those people, just keep them in the Chromebooks. But longevity, this will last a lot longer than a Chromebook will, in the sense that the operating system will continue to be updated, and when Google updates Chrome to a certain point, it becomes incompatible with the older Chromebooks. And when you ask Google, what do I do with it? They say, throw it in the trash, send it to e-waste. People complain about Microsoft and Windows resulting in some e-waste, but Chromebooks are far worse. But because they're so inexpensive, it's like, you know what? What did you think you were getting for $100, you know? Lagrinia says, I might get one of these for work. Hey, listen, this would be great for work. For a lot of people, what's slow in your remote connection is your internet access or the internet access of where you're connecting. In most cases, having a high-performance computer connected to like a Zoom meeting or to a remote desktop, like it's a waste to have all that power just sitting there idle. For me to use this, for example, to use instant house call and remote in to people's computers, this isn't going to run any slower than a high-end of my $3,000 laptop when it's used in that way. So yeah, very viable, very serviceable, lots of USB ports. And you know, the Dell XPS line, which is $1,500 to $3,000, no longer gives you an HDMI port. They give you a dongle that you've got to plug into USB Type-C that breaks out to a full-size Type-A, because they don't give you a Type-A on the Dell XPS laptops. They only give you 3 Type-Cs, that's all you get, and one's used for power. And you're going to spend, well, as much as 7 of what these laptops cost. And Dell has the gall to say that's a creator laptop without offering HDMI, without offering Type-A. You're getting so much more, in my opinion, more practical ports and variety of ports on this much cheaper laptop than Dell offers on their XPS, which is supposed to be their, you know, best series. I don't know what they're thinking over there, but that's why I stopped buying them. There's nothing wrong with them physically. It's not like they're poorly made. They're way overpriced, and to remove HDMI, you know, I'm okay with the Ethernet port being removed. I can work around that. I'm not okay with having to bring a dongle with me everywhere I go, every time I want to plug in a standard flash drive, or if I want to plug into HDMI. It's one more thing attached. And suddenly, I've got all these attachments, and it's a big old mess, and I'd rather just, at that point, carry around a mini PC if I'm going to attach something. How about a bigger screen? That's all I'm saying. And you're going to need an HDMI port to do that. All right, so anyway, let's just click that back down. Just lock it in. And we can put the screws back in it. Does anybody have any other questions before I put the screws back in about what's inside? FM Lazar mentions on some laptops from Dell, you could use USB-C. That would be charging your monitor. Well, that's possible with power delivery. True. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to carry around another monitor. All right, I guess I'm going to start putting the screws back in. I know I got to get this angle right. And I think I don't want to use that driver. I really didn't expect that driver to work. I've got some much better drivers here. This is a kit from a company called Nanch, like the word ranch, but with the letter N, like Nancy. And this is more of a precision driver kit for just generic, delicate electronics work, not specifically for laptops. And this was brought to my attention by a friend of mine that is an engineer. And he has all kinds of little projects going around his house. And, you know, I'm talking like an engineer's engineer. This is a guy that has a soldering iron and wires and tubes and understands transistors, resistors, and flux capacitors. He's the kind of guy that doesn't buy a flux capacitor. He creates one. He's the inventor of stuff like that. And so for him, he was talking about how great this screwdriver was for him, and I said, or this kit. And I never heard of it before. And I bought it off Amazon, and I don't use it often enough. The iFixit toolkits are usually what most people are going to be directed to for PC screwdrivers, and they're great, but they are expensive. I would say this is equally great, but not necessarily tied to PCs. That's not the, certainly and obviously you can use it for that. And I am definitely not getting the angle on this screw right. So what I need to do is take this out entirely. And you'll know if you've got the angle right, because you will feel the head of the screw coming up beyond the cover. And that means you did not get the angle correct. When the angle is correct, you'll feel it. See, that's the problem. It wasn't clicked all the way in. And if you force it in straight, then it's going to want to go in that way from now on, and you basically strip out the threads. So when you do take apart, this is pretty common for laptops to have this design. Just keep that in mind.
You have email.
And I have an email. Mara alerts me. You've got mail.
You've got mail.
Oh yeah, I did not have this clipped all the way down. And that's going to make putting the screws in the right angle very difficult, because the holes aren't aligning correctly until you hear that click. And again, you'll feel it. If the screw head is sticking up, then you don't have it properly aligned. And if you have to use a lot of force to get it properly aligned, in other words, if I'm really cranking down on the screw, what I'm doing is I'm stripping the threads out of it. And then that's the way it'll be. Once you do that, it'll forever stay that way. All right. So that takes care of those two middle screws. So I don't necessarily, when I take the screws out, I don't necessarily put them spaced out the way they are, but I do put them in the right order in the right row. They could be right next to each other for all I care on the table. But I know that first row closest to the camera is this first row. And I know the first one on the left is the first screw on the left, and the next one over. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have to like lay it out to scale. And then I think I want to do the other hinge here just to keep it flat for the rest of these that go in, the last three. Yeah, I'm hearing it click as the screw goes in. There we go. Again, when that clicks, I can see the mounting points better because the plastic is directly over, right on top of where the screw thread is. When it's just a little bit away, it's like a dark hole I can't see in, and it's hard to verify if I'm putting the screw in the right angle. So these go in completely straight, but these on the edges go in on a slight angle. And if I didn't break it, we should be able to turn it back on and fire it right back up. There we go. Just hold the button down until the blue light comes on. And while that boots up, I can put this little driver kit away. Yeah, I should use this more often. I really do like it. Now, likely when we go back and check for Windows updates, it will tell us, hey, you need 24H2. I was trying to avoid that so that we're not here all day waiting for updates, but I also did not want to take it out of the box and charge it up and update it and then miss the full unboxing experience. I was saving that for you. So I hope you appreciate that I really wanted to play with this when it arrived, and I had to exercise a little bit of self-control because I wanted to share it with you. Let's see, I guess I'm going to need internet access again and an HDMI port. So we'll plug HDMI in, and I'll plug my Ethernet adapter in. And I suppose I can go back to charging it up since it's not fully charged anyway. Plug that in. And then we can go back over to camera 3 and Windows updates. Everything's working. I didn't break it. It's carry proof. I must have the speaker turned off, huh? Is that what this... Can't adjust the volume because I'm in HDMI, is that why? Can I change my audio to the speakers? Sound output, spatial sound. No output devices found. We should have an option if we want our audio to go out via the onboard sound card or through the HDMI port, and I don't see it. What's our output device? Nothing, no output device is found. I wonder if that's because of the HDMI port, but I should still be able to select it. Let's take a look in the device manager and see if maybe one of those Windows updates that did sound wasn't compatible. Let's make sure everything's okay in here. It's thinking about it. Oh, wait a minute, we do have an issue. Intel Smart Sound Technology. See, we do have an issue. Oh, what is it doing? Sometimes all you have to do to solve problems like this is just delete the item, uninstall it, and let it redetect and reinstall. And if it still has a driver issue, then we can go to the driver's portion of the site and put that back. However, give it a chance to fix itself. And let's see if we still have that. Yeah, we still have this message here. So my guess is one of those updates from Windows Update likely has this issue. However, before I go back to Windows Update, let's take a look at the BIOS. Let's do this. Let's go Settings. Windows Update. Yeah, I thought it was downloading in the background. It felt like it was a little bit sluggish. This explains why. Then let's do Advanced Options, Recovery, Advanced Startup, and Restart Now. And when this restarts, it'll ask us how we want to boot, like safe mode, or go right into the BIOS, or boot off of a USB flash drive. So we're going to pick to go into the BIOS. There's probably a key press like delete or F2 or F10. It kind of varies. And I'm sure we could figure that out. But this way I don't have to figure it out. I can just universally on any computer, you can always get into your BIOS this way. You don't have to worry about timing the key press of the right key at the right time. This is far more reliable. And in just a minute here, I should get some video. I'm going to take you back over to camera 1 for a moment while we're waiting. Okay, it says please wait. That's what's happening now, which, oh, that one just clicked. I did not do a very good job of resecuring the, making sure all the edges were in place. I'm a little too gentle with it. And I don't think we've got this video output, do we? No. All right, so we're going to do, and this is not a touch screen, by the way. Thank goodness I hate touch screens. We're going to go to, oh, wait a minute. Does our mouse not work? It seems that our trackpad is not working. So we're going to use the arrow keys. We'll go to Troubleshoot. Under Advanced Options. Again, I don't know why the trackpad, apparently a driver that's needed for the trackpad does not load until Windows. But that's why we have a keyboard. So we'll do Advanced Settings. And then we're going to go to UEFI Firmware. Enter. And then Restart. And that should start us up into the BIOS. So again, you know, we found a couple things. One, we're having an issue with the sound, and two, the trackpad is not going to work until Windows loads, but the keyboard always works. I knew there had to be something more than, you know, there had to be more to it. There's no way it could have been perfect. It's close though. Those are pretty minor nitpicks. So this should restart back into a BIOS here in just a minute. Taking quite a bit longer than I would expect. I don't know why the screen is blue. I wonder if it could be outputting it to the HDMI. No, it is not. Okay. Well, this definitely should not be taking this long. There's something not right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to force this off, turn it back on again, and I'll hold down the Shift key and see if that continues to bring up our advanced startup menu. I think it's not acknowledging that. Again, there is a manual, and we could refer to that to see if there's any sequence that's different to get into a BIOS. It's definitely got a BIOS. I can guarantee you it has one. I'm just not sure what why that didn't work, because that always works, always. It's the first time doing the getting into the BIOS that way through Windows. Has never functioned on any computer ever. Was that a fluke? Was that just some weird thing that happened? Only way to know would be to try it again. So if we go back over to settings, and there's a, you can have a desktop shortcut made. If I don't know why you'd need to get into that often, but oh, and look, our sound is working now. Now the sound seems like it's fine. So my guess is I'm too impatient not waiting for letting drivers complete. And there's our options. The CamLink Pro, that's our capture card. And these are the speakers on the unit itself. So I want to default to the speakers. Spatial sound is for headphones, I think, isn't it? See what these speakers sound like. If I play my own audio, I should not be copywriting myself, right? I laugh because with YouTube, you never know. They might send me a copyright notice that I've copyrighted myself. You never know. Wouldn't put it past them. Probably wouldn't be the first time.
Switch to Chrome to load your favorite sites fast, so you can browse with ease. Fast?
I got to switch to Chrome ad on my Edge browser.
You have email again.
Oh, I forgot to check email. All right. I think I just turned headphones on.
Hello, everybody. Happy Father's Day, and welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Sunday.
You know what? The audio is pretty flat. I wonder what it takes to get that spatial audio on. If it's something that the sound card supports. Spatial sound says off. I don't see any way to change that. Okay. Try getting into the BIOS one more time. And we're still, if you're noticing a bit of a lag on this, it is still trying to download these updates while I'm trying to use it at the same time. That's why I try and get the updates done
before I demonstrate the computer to you, because I don't want to give you a false impression that the computer isn't running to the best of its ability. You need to have the updates in, because the updates can also make a performance improvement to the speed of the drive and just the overall responsiveness of the machine. But ironically, when installing the updates, the response of the machine is going to slow down as the resources are being used for downloading and installing the updates in the background. So I'm going to go over to, where is it? Recovery. And under Advanced Startup, and Restart Now. We're going to try this one more time. And then we'll go back over to camera 1 here. And while we're waiting, FM Lazar says could be cheap speakers. Could be. And you know, you've got Bluetooth. You can put in a pair of AirPods or more expensive headphones if that's important to you. I'm a bit spoiled. A $3,000 laptop has much better audio, but maybe there's a setting here. I mean, I'm impressed with the audio that comes out of my little phone. It blows me away. You know, it's not the best audio I heard, but the fact that it's as good as it is, I don't know what sort of black magic that is. And let's see what else we have here. Emails. Oh, we have a PayPal contribution from Kevin Doan for $10. He says, I enjoy your content and I hope this helps. Well, it certainly does. Thank you, Kevin. And what else do we have? Charlie Purdy, our good friend, contributes an Amazon gift card. He says this is for the channel and community and maybe squeeze some of Marlita's special steak sauce. Yes, she does get this sugar-free steak sauce we get from, I think it's a brand called G. Hughes. They have a line of sugar-free barbecue sauce, steak sauce, cocktail sauce, and she really likes them. And a very generous Amazon gift card from Charlie. Thank you so much. And I think that catches me up. Yeah. Thank you, guys. All right, I'm going to try getting into the BIOS one more time. We're going to go back. Oh, yeah, I forgot. It's still not working. We're going to go back over to Troubleshoot. Advanced. System Firmware Settings. Restart. So I'm not sure. I wonder if it's because HDMI is plugged in. Nothing. I'm going to try two different things here, because if one of my attachments is interfering, I mean, that's not normal, but I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that I'm doing something that they wouldn't have tested. So I'm going to turn this back off. And we'll turn it back on, and this time when it comes on, I'm going to start pressing delete, because I don't know what the key is. I'll just start pressing delete over and over again. I got no text down here with regards to any BIOS. Documentation, we can take a look in there. This talks about all the colors: red, gold, blue, gray, and silver. Again, normally at this price point, you just get one color, so I'm surprised at that. And we have the schematic, warranty, safety guidelines, troubleshooting. Phone number, email, website, everything's good here. We also have a thank you card that's enclosed that says, thank you for choosing Nimo. As a family-owned startup with more than 10 years of experience, we take immense pride in introducing our brand to you. Your trust and support mean the world to us. At Nimo, we're committed to providing you with the best possible products and services. Rest assured, we will go above and beyond to ensure your satisfaction, which is why we offer a 2-year no-worry warranty and a 90-day hassle-free return policy. In addition, we provide online repair guidance, and warranty registration services for your convenience. Once again, thank you for choosing Nimo. We look forward to serving you and exceeding your expectations. Wow. And none of it was broken English. None of it was misspelled. I don't know how to react to that. That's fantastic. David suggests I try using F2 to get in the BIOS. Yeah, sometimes F2 works. Let's try it. One more time. A lot of times there'll be a small text during the boot screen or the post screen that says, you know, for if you want to change your boot order, for example. Like, let's say I wanted to reinstall Windows, I'd need to boot off of the, yeah, there we go, F2 is it. I would need to boot off of the USB. I need to get into the BIOS to change the boot order. So I don't think this is going to go out to HDMI, but I want to check it. Most laptops, again, you need to be in Windows, but on this laptop, it seems like the HDMI is working even outside of Windows for some things. And I did see the screen blank out. Like, that's more like a desktop GPU. Laptop GPUs don't normally do that. Let's see, are we in there? No, there's no output. Okay, that's fine. We should be able to go maybe over here. And we can just film the screen. Nothing fancy, nothing out of the ordinary. Oops, went all the way back up to the top. So 4 presses there gets us to that screen. And then across the top, if we go this direction to the next menu over, we have advanced with trusted computing, graphics configuration, CPU configuration, memory configuration, and I/O ports. We'll go again to the next menu item over. That leads us to our security, for things like making sure secure boot is turned on if you want to turn that on. I haven't even checked to see if it's on by default. And I haven't noticed any difference on systems with it on or off, but I think in the future that'll be something to be concerned about. But for now, Windows 11 works equally the same, and I can't tell the difference with secure boot on or off. So I'm not really too worried about that, but if you want to control that either way, it's here in the BIOS. Let's go one more over, and now we're under, what section? Boot. This is what I was talking about, the boot order and how we control that. We'll go the next one over, and that is now under save and exit. So that's your restore defaults and your temporary boot override, which is what I would use if I were booting into a Windows installer. And that's the end. It takes us back around. So it's a pretty straightforward, ordinary BIOS. It's not a graphical BIOS in that sense. It's not a GUI and not a graphical user interface BIOS. It's old text-based, pretty basic. And again, at this price point, I would expect it to be basic. I wouldn't expect any more than that. And yeah, we got asset tag number. We've got serial number all in here. And it's just a Aptio AMI BIOS. So let's exit this and go back to Windows. So I'm going to discard changes and exit. And then I'm going to plug my Ethernet adapter back into it. And once I let this other update for Windows install, I should be able then to it should, after rebooting, check for updates again and then offer me 24H2. And that's going to take a while. And that's true pretty much on any computer. 24H2 came out, like I say, late fall last year. So I'm a little disappointed we did not get the latest 24H2. They do have it available as a download, but I wouldn't do it that way either. I'd get it legitimately from Microsoft versus legitimately through somebody else. That would be my personal preference, just because I want to make sure I don't want to gamble with the source. It's fine, what's on here is fine. However, those updates are not there for fun. They're there to protect you and to enhance the ability of the computer. There's a lot of people that are not fans of things that are new. The older people get, in general, the more common it is for them to spit on things that are new. They want to stay in the past. They want to stay primitive. They don't want to evolve. And it kind of sickens me when I hear people cursing out new features. Just because a new feature comes out doesn't mean you have to use it. But for you to basically pee on everybody's parade because you don't like the parade, just go home. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to hear it. Or the world's going to move on with or without your cooperation, and you're not going to change it. So you may choose to, you know, go to a different platform. There's other operating systems that might be not evolve as quickly as Windows does. And so, you know, you could be using OS2 Warp for all I care. But what we're here to do here in the channel is I represent my real job, the real work that I do in real life, representing real customers. And I have never had a customer ask me to work on OS2 Warp. It's funny to me because even when OS2 Warp was popular, it wasn't. That doesn't mean you didn't like it. All right, so we are back to downloading these updates here, and we'll just let that continue, and we'll just finish off today by asking you guys if you have any questions for me that I'll try and answer them if I can. And thank you guys, especially Charlie Purdy there, and our friend Buster, for those gifts and for your support and your friendship. You guys rock. And of course, to all of our members without whom we wouldn't even be here. Thanks to Nimo for sending us the unit for review under no conditions, no consequences, and no obligations. I very much am liking what I'm seeing here. It's not perfect, but then again, what are we comparing it to? Are we comparing it to a $3,000 laptop? Because if we are, I might have some things to complain about. But the fact that we can now have brand new in-warranty machines that are secure and Windows 11 compatible into the hands of people who otherwise could not afford it is a very noble cause. And unless there's some information that comes to light, this company is leading the way. This is like Captain Nemo. A lot of people associate Nemo to the fish, but who was the fish associated with? You got to keep going back. Nemo, the movie, was named after Captain Nemo, which is from anyone? You're probably thinking of a movie, but if you go back before the movie, it was a book. And it was a book, what is it, 100 years ago? I'm checking the chat room's knowledge. They're Googling it right now. Actually, we have a mature audience. I'm sure many of you remember who Captain Nemo was. FM Lazar says, when new features invade your privacy without providing compensatory benefit, they have a point. I disagree because the government does not require you to utilize the operating system in your privacy. Really, nobody gives a rat's behind about your privacy unless you're a public figure or a celebrity. You're just full of self-importance that really people don't care about. If you're of that mindset, you should not be using the Windows platform, any more so than complaining you can't off-road in your Mazda Miata. It's a ridiculous and unreasonable complaint that you've just made bad choices. So I would suggest you make better choices. That's not Microsoft's fault you're not making good choices. So if you want that, if you think you're all self-important and people give a rat's behind what you do, you know what? You go live in that world, man. It's crazy. Nobody cares what you do. I promise you. When you get to be a celebrity, a politician, or a public figure, that changes. But you're just like the rest of us. You have obscurity. You have security through obscurity. So what you do is it doesn't matter. And for you to think it does, you don't need to use Windows. If you're of that mindset, you should not be on Windows. It was not designed for people with that mindset. Never has been. It's for non-technical people to ease them into the ability to use a computer and get them access without being technical. If you're technical, it was never designed for you. All right, it frustrates me that somebody so smart could be missing the point entirely. All right, Waddell says this has almost everything my framework laptop has at a quarter of the price. Yeah. Windows 7 is still better, says somebody who's obviously very old. You won't hear that coming from a young person. That is just a That's just a sad state of somebody refusing to. They've given up, basically. They don't want to learn anymore. They said, I've learned all I want to learn, and I'm going to be stuck in my ways for the rest of my life. That is almost always going to be a male. It's very rarely females who think this way, and almost always somebody over the age of 30. Somewhere over the age of 30 in the whole Catcher in the Rye, where people change, that's often at the age of 30 that starts to happen. And you won't hear that from a younger person, somebody who's excited and still has the curiosity of life still alive within them. So you're okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm just pointing it out to everybody else. Understand who you're listening to. Doesn't make them right. It makes them stubborn. Stubborn and closed. And again, no one's forcing them to use Windows. I would strongly recommend they stop. If you still think Windows 7 is better, you should not be using Windows. It was never designed for you, and your expectations are unreasonable and do not represent the category or the people that Windows was designed to be for. You're not, it's not for you. It'll never be for you. It's for everybody else. David Graham says, 20,000 leagues under the sea. Captain of the Nautilus, Captain Nemo. That is correct. Yes. Chris Johnson renews membership, now a member for 37 months. It says, hello, Carey, Mara, and friends. Hey, thank you for renewing your membership, Chris. 37 months. That's right at the beginning. Right on. Gil Garcia says, what kind of memory does it have? Gil, use the rewind button and see what you've missed, my friend. We've already covered this in depth. Please do not ask me to keep repeating myself. I do appreciate your questions, but preferably ones we haven't already answered. FM Lazar said, Carey, that Nemo was spelled N-E-M-O. Once again, I think you've completely missed all the information in the beginning of the video. There's no reason to repeat back what I've already said. I've already can hear myself, and you're not correcting me. You're just simply not listening, or you've missed all of the information prior and made an assumption to correct me, which is profoundly rude. So please do verify you have all the information before offering a correction. The videos do have DVR mode. You can rewind them. People are very quick to correct, and it tells you a lot more about them than it tells you about me. I am very thorough in my coverage, and if you think I missed something, go back and check before you correct me, because it's profoundly offensive to just repeat back everything I've already said. What's the point of talking if people aren't listening? Or they're simply going to repeat back everything I already told them. It's very strange. It's an odd phenomenon. All right, if there's anything we haven't already covered, if you have other questions that we haven't already answered, or you want to talk about something we haven't already talked about, please do ask now, because otherwise we'll probably wrap it up for today. We're at our 2-hour point, and that'll give you time to go back if you've missed any part of the video to see everything you've missed. And then if you then have a remaining question after you've caught up, there's a comment section, and you're welcome to leave it in there. You're probably, if it's a technical question, you should reach out to the company themselves. They'll know better than I do. I don't work for them. And so many of your questions, I may, depending on what kind of customer service, what kind of, what's the warranty like, any technical details, I would point you to them, since they're the ones who are going to know it far better than I. But if there is something I can answer, I certainly, I'm not withholding anything on purpose. If I know it, I'll tell you. I have to assume that since the sound on the laptop is working, that whatever that driver issue was, you know, when I removed it and it reinstalled, maybe a reboot was required for that to take effect, and that may have actually been what resolved it. On the other hand, maybe a reboot would have resolved it anyway. I don't know, because because of the diagnostic technique I used, I'm not sure. I should have probably restarted first, because that's the easiest thing to do, just to verify that the sound driver didn't need a reboot for some reason. But if we jump back over here right quick, we can take a real quick look at the desktop, which is right here. And of course, my touchpad is working. It just did not work in that startup, that advanced startup screen, which is good to know that that's normal, standard procedure for this design. And we're going to go to Device Manager, and we'll see if everything's happy in there right now. Yeah, everything looks good. I don't see any more exclamation points. Also, if I go to my USB stick, and then I can plug USB in here, we can take a look at Crystal Disk Info. It's just probably, well, look, it's an N100, so it's going to be Gen 3 just because the CPU couldn't handle any more than that. So, you know, we're not dealing with a real high-end machine when it comes to RAM and CPU. If you want that, you need to pay for that. If you want to save money and have a really good Windows 11 compatible machine for the least amount of money with a good support and warranty that's built well, I don't think there's any competitor to this at this price range. If I'm wrong, if you're aware of another manufacturer that's similar, I would love to know about it, because I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away by what this company is doing. And it makes me question why nobody else is doing it. Why can Nimo do this and seemingly nobody else can for this price? Gets me thinking. So if I come over here to my USB drive and look for Crystal Disk Info, let's go back. Crystal Disk Info, let me copy that over. We could do Crystal Disk Mark, but I'm not expecting much, maybe 2,000 megabytes a second, something like that. And again, we are downloading and installing an update in the background, so I don't know how accurate our results are going to be. But let me go back over to the desktop. And yeah, Crystal Disk Mark Portable. Bring that over. So Crystal Disk Info right here. And then we'll go to Disk Info 64. See what it says. It's going to come up in a minute because, again, we're installing in the background. And so with just 4 cores and 16 gigs of RAM, you know, it's not fair to compare this to the higher end machines that we build here. So this does show it's, interestingly, it appears to show that the drive is, one of these is the drive and one of these is the socket. I'm going to guess this is the drive, and I'm going to guess this is the socket, but I'm not sure. The current mode and the supported mode. So I'm going to guess the motherboard is Gen 3x4, and the NVMe drive is a Gen 4x4, because they're just so inexpensive now. And you can see, you know, it's brand new. It's only been on 8 hours. Or sorry, it's only been on 1 hour, but it's been powered on 8 times. So we can verify we have brand new stuff. And of course, that's the C drive. The D drive, that's my flash drive. That's going to be far more used. And I only plug it in for a few minutes at a time. So it's been plugged in 2,100 times. But it only has 7 hours of use on it. I don't know how accurate a Crystal Disk Mark is going to be while it's installing, but just for the sake of, I don't know, giving us something to do while we wait, let's check it out real quick. Let's go here, see what the burst speed numbers are. Because if that's a Gen 4 drive in a Gen 3 socket, then that should read at the maximum Gen 3 speeds. which we are nowhere near. However, again, we are doing this in the background. Here we go, getting a little more accurate. The Gen 3 speeds will probably top out about 3,500, so 3,400, 3,500 would be the maximum. That's a better NVMe drive than what I thought would be in there. And this is not an accurate test because of the background that we're using the drive right now while we're trying to test the drive. So we're not going to get an accurate reading, but it's already better than I thought it was going to be. We're well over 2,000, so you know, your limitation is really going to be on the CPU itself in that regard. So bear that in mind and set your expectations accordingly. I don't want you to be unreasonable, you know, with regards to your expectations. And what you should be comparing this to, in my opinion, is another computer that's around $300. Don't compare this to a $900 computer. Don't compare this to a $500 computer, or you're going to feel like you didn't get as much. Duh. I mean, I feel that it's weird I have to say it, but I will hear people online complain that, well, it's not as good as the $3,000 Galaxy Book 3. Right, because this is 10% of the cost, but it's definitely not 10% of the performance. It's much better than that, but it's nowhere near the performance of a $3,000 computer. Why would you think it would be? But unfortunately, this is the internet, and this is what people do. If there is another product, particularly a laptop, at this price range that gives you the same or better performance, when I'm talking the amount of RAM, solid state drive, the capacity, the speed, not to mention the warranty or the extended return period, forget all that. If there's another one that's $300 that you feel is better than this in performance, just that alone, would you please tell me? Because otherwise, what are you comparing it to? I really do feel like this stands alone. And whether or not that's appealing to you, I have no idea. But I can tell you this would be appealing to a lot of your average computer owners, especially people that say, oh, you know, I'm stuck with Windows 10. There's nothing I can do. There's always something you can do. In fact, if you feel you're stuck with Windows 10, we'd love to hear the reasoning why. Because I am not aware of a valid reason that the average consumer would have. A brand new Windows 10 computer, like a mini PC, costs less than your internet bill does every month. So if you've got the money to pay for the internet, I'm not going to hear, there's no way I'm listening to that nonsense. On the other hand, if other people pay your bills and they're not buying you something, you know, grow up, take responsibility. There are probably some other scenarios, and in those scenarios, we might help you out. We might just send you something. If you're that bad off that you can't scrape up $100 for a brand new computer, and you're using a computer that's over 10 years old, and you're relying on that for, you think you're going to be safe online? Forget your privacy. What about your identity? What about your data? What about your financial information? You're risking that if you continue to use Windows 10 after support ends. For what? Whatever you think you're saving is going to, at the end, give it enough time, will cost you 100 times more to fix it. So upwards, we're talking in time, legal battles, proving it wasn't you that did all this, that it was somebody else, all because of some stubbornness. The hackers love you. You make their job so easy. You basically beg them to take your stuff. So if you have a valid reason that you're stuck with Windows 10 after support ends, I'd like to hear it. And if we can help you, if you have a legitimate, reasonable, which I can't even imagine what that would be, of a grown adult who is incapable of providing for themselves the most basic things, I'd like to hear that better. And if you want to keep it private and send it to us in an email, I'll put the email address right up here, and you can tell us exactly how it's possible that you can provide yourself with food and shelter and electricity and an internet connection, but you're stuck with Windows 10. So you've got money for everything else but that, when that doesn't cost as much as all that other stuff does. And you're only going to buy it once every few years. So if you're running a computer 10 years old or older and you're not willing to switch to Linux, You're not willing to go to Windows 11. You're on your own. We tried to help you. We tried to warn you. Just give it time, and you'll see for yourself. That's why there's nothing in it for me. If anything, it'll cost me money if you follow my advice. If you don't follow my advice, ultimately it's going to cost you money. And it'll cost you a little bit now or a lot later. Just give it time. I don't know what else to do. It's not my decision. It's just how it is. And I want to thank again our friends over at Nimo. I mean, I'm really anxious to see what else do they have. If this is the entry level, do they have a mid-level? Do they have a high-end? Is it built to this quality and this aggressive a price? Or are they just specializing in entry level? I don't know. Maybe we can bring in a representative on from the company to tell us about what their philosophy is and why it's so important for them to offer these low prices and this great support and make it easy to get into. And even, what are you thinking selling a bare bones laptop? Who does that? And thank you for doing it. Thank you for not doing what everybody else does. Lead by example, lead the way. Let other people copy you. Yeah, I'm all about that all day. Buster says good night. He'll catch up with us tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us, Buster. And there's Chris Johnson saying hello. And I think, let's see if I've missed anything here. Andy says, good stuff. Thanks, Mr. Holzman and Ms. Marlena. Well, thank you, Andy. Thanks for supporting us here, for being a great member of our community. And Raven 4K, good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We certainly appreciate the kindness and people who aren't challenging me. I don't need that. You know, I make these videos and I present them and invite everybody in. And if people invited in want to challenge me, we don't need them here. So I just want you to know that we're doing our best to make sure that our community stays undiluted of people that are trying to poison the well or are incapable of behaving in a social environment to do and behave in the way that everybody else is. And I'm saddened that I continue to deal with that from non-members, which is, again, putting me back into the situation where I might just go back to members-only interactions and let the non-members simply watch the videos without interacting. The sad part is we have many, many non-members who interact with us in a very polite and friendly way, and I don't want to punish them. So unfortunately, you know, every time I do this, I weed out a few more, and I figure eventually we should have them all removed. And it's a shame that they would be so inconsiderate as a guest to behave that way. But what are you going to do? You invite people in, and some people you invite in want to cause trouble, or I don't know, just don't behave politely. So you restrict who you invite in or start kicking people out. I mean, bums me out, man. I just don't know why people can't be courteous. But nonetheless, thank you all for being courteous. And thanks for hanging out with me, especially our members who make these videos possible. Thanks to Mara for all the work she does in the background, setting up our thumbnails, our video descriptions. Thanks to Nimo for sending us the laptop and letting us review it how we review, not telling us how to review it. No conditions, and it doesn't need any. And in fact, any company that does require their approval, you got to wonder what they're trying to hide. So this comes off, as far as I'm concerned, very, very confident that a company says, you know what, you can review our product however you want. We're that confident in it. And furthermore, if you do find a problem, let us know, because we would appreciate any improvement, suggestions for improvement to the product. And very few things that I found, like the trackpad not working in the one mode, the difficulty getting into the BIOS, I don't know what that's about. The 23H2 instead of 24H2, which is free, it just means you're going to have to spend some time updating it. Very minor, all very minor. The ease of access and everything being upgradable. Wouldn't that be great if that was normal? You know, that you could find that across the board. My $3,000 laptop has RAM soldered in. I cannot upgrade it or change it. Food for thought, you know. How you define better doesn't mean it's better for anybody else but you. With all that said, thanks to all the members as always, especially to our friend Charlie Purdy, and also, I gotta look at my phone again because, you know, it's been 10 minutes and I've already forgotten. Kevin Doan, thank you for your support, your generosity, and for just being the amazing people that you are. I will see you all again. I don't know, will I be back tomorrow? I've got some content to do. I'm just not sure what my availability is at this point. So we've got a build coming up on Friday, and I have a review on Thursday, but I'm not sure if I will be available tomorrow or not. So be sure and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you can be alerted anytime we're about to go live. We'll send out a notification, usually at least 10 hours in advance. Sometimes it's last minute though. And I hope you'll join us then. And all the video notes for everything we talked about, whether it's links to the Windows and Office keys from our friends at SCD Keys, links to the laptop, even the bare bones version, all in the video notes below the video. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all again very, very soon. Until next time, bye for now.